All right, good evening and welcome to the Grand Lodge webinar series. This evening we will be having the Masonic Youth, a quick discussion panel. As we've talked about before, this is not tiled, so please be govern yourselves accordingly. I did turn the recording on. Since this is kind of an open discussion, the mute is not as relevant, but please remember that you can use your spacebar to temporarily unmute yourself if you choose. Being an open discussion, we won't worry about questions being sent to the host at all. I will open the poll at the end, about 5 minutes or so before the end of the meeting, to capture that information, and these will be recorded and posted on the YouTube channel. Around about Saturday is when I get a chance to get those things uploaded. Upcoming schedule. Well, this is the last one for this season. Let's call it that. We will be breaking here until fall and picking back up in fall. I'm not exactly sure what the cadence will be come fall, but we will be sending out emails once we kind of got the schedule worked out. As we've talked about before, the show and tell challenge is still open. Please find out more details at the bythecompass.org challenge site. And we are still looking for people to do present. Like I said, we will be picking up in the fall, always looking for topics, people to share information and those kind of things. So please reach out via the email address and or phone number to reach us. And with that, oops, I'm over by one. There we go. Just took a second to load. We will we'll open up the panel for discussion. Aaron, do you want to start this process off?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us. This idea came around right when we were talking about wanting to do both DeMolay and Job's Daughters presentations. And the idea is that I personally have always been a fan of the idea of Stronger Together, right? They're separate organizations, but their history, their purpose, and of course, the sponsorship by Masonic lodges is what unifies them. I would never suggest that they become one organization. I think they're distinctly separate, but yet there's so much benefit that can be had by cooperation and friendship and sharing best practices and things like that. So the idea of a joint kind of round table panel discussion where the Masons of Minnesota and of course the world can kind of hear from a couple of our youth leaders as well as Lisa and I, and not only hear about what DeMolay and Job's Daughters do and what they're about, but to actually hear it from the members themselves and to learn what things that they've gathered out of there. So we have a number of questions that have kind of been prepared, and they're really intended to kind of give us a kickoff, and then it would be great if folks on the call could chime in with questions. This is really, like I said, meant to be an open discussion for everybody, and to ask those questions and let the youth as well as Lisa and I, and I saw Darren on the call too. So Darren, chime in as well if you would like, but the forum is really open.
Thank you, Aaron. Now you want to introduce the youth leader that you have with you for the DeMolay here as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have the State Master Counselor of Minnesota DeMolay, Jaiden Smith, is on the call tonight.
Lisa, why don't you want to lead off for the Job's Daughters here, and then we'll open up for questions. So
will do. On the call tonight, we have Madison Crooks, and she is our Grand Bethel Honor Queen, and she is from our Farmington Bethel.
Thank you. Well, let us start out with the first question that I have on the list today is why do young people today need Job's Daughters and DeMolay? And that is open to whoever wants to answer the question first.
I can go first.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So a big part of today's world is obviously social media. I mean, we're using internet right now to have this panel or round table, whatever you want to call it. So I think just a lot of the values have definitely changed. So since technology and everything is so valued now, Job's Daughters, even though we have advanced with the technology, still has some of its roots in the past. And it's really nice to kind of go back and just spend time like phones and having time by ourselves. And that's is definitely something that is needed in this day and age, especially since, I mean, we've had over a year of COVID and we haven't been able to see everyone. So being able to be with your friends or just anyone in the Masonic family and just focusing on them and not the technology is definitely something that's needed today.
Thank you. Jaiden, you want to jump in on that question?
Of course.
Thank you.
So I think that young people need like DeMolay, and Job's Daughters today is because I think, especially in this day and age with technology and social media, that people can be very judgeful sometimes, can be like mean and judgeful. And I think like being young in this day and age can be like more hard than before because people can be so worried about the internet and stuff like and what people think. And that's where DeMolay and Job's comes in, is to have a sense of acceptance, to truly be a part of something. When you're a DeMolay, you have brothers. When you're in Job's Daughters, you have sisters. It's just, and I know that when you become a DeMolay, you swear to, not speak a good word, or not to speak if you don't have like a good word in the presence of the uninitiated. And it's just being true and loyal, And that's kind of just why I think that it will benefit young people today. It's just to have a sense of acceptance.
Thank you. Anybody else want to
Yeah,
jump in on that?
I think they both bring up a good point. It comes down to sometimes we're described as a youth fraternity or a youth sorority, right? And the unfortunate thing is those two words have a negative connotation by people who think of, the sorority and the fraternity thing is like this party thing. But there's a lot of value there in comradeship, and that's something I think that these kids get out of these organizations that our youth leaders recognize it, but I don't know if the rank and file member always kind of grasps what they're getting from a comradeship until later. And it's truly a unique thing, and it's really what sets us apart from a lot of other organizations is that comradeship aspect. I mean, being able to, I've watched these Jobies go to Supreme, and they don't know hardly any of these people, and they're instant friends. And the same thing with the DeMolay, they go out of state to visit somewhere, and again, they don't know anybody, but they're instant friends in a matter of minutes, and that's something special.
Thank you. Lisa? You're on mute, Lisa.
Oop. Wrong button. Sorry about that. I would agree. I think one of the biggest benefits that our youth for all ages have gotten from the organizations is that is the network. It's the benefits, it's the extended family that help them to be able to build their lives and be successful. There's a lot of organizations that help with some of the skills that we teach, but being a part of the Masonic family is that it's a family, and our membership always feels that there's someone there to support them and to help them, because no matter where you go, there's a Masonic lodge, and you can find someone within the Masonic family to help and support you in any way.
Thank you.
That's a good point, Lisa. And I'll give an example. So my son was traveling and he had an unexpected layover in Las Vegas, of all places. And he called up a DeMolay who he knew there, and he picked him up. He had like 6 hours of a layover, picked him up and took him and got him dinner, and, was able to meet somebody that you knew and trusted so far from home. That is special.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. So you Madison and Jaiden, you both spoke about this day and age. So how did the whole COVID experience fare for your guys' organization this last year?
I'll start off and we can just
Sure.
keep it where I'll start so that there's no confusion or people talking over each other. COVID hitting, especially in Minnesota Job's Daughter, was really hard. A lot of the different Bethels have seen a huge decrease in their membership, and that also has to do with the adults, not just the daughters. Personally, my Bethel, we had like 6 active Jobies. Now we have like 2, maybe 3 sometimes. And we had to completely redo our council because pretty much everyone in our council had to step down and it couldn't be a part of our Bethel anymore. So it was definitely really hard to kind of overcome all of those challenges. Just with not having any actual in-person events, it's tiring to sit on all of these Zoom calls, especially since most of our members are doing school all day, or even like the adults have to go to work Zooms all the time. So it's just constantly being on a computer, and people get tired of that because they just want to not have to stare at a screen anymore, which I completely understand. So since we're doing some more in-person events, I've seen a couple more people, which definitely is helping, but COVID definitely decreased a lot of our membership.
Thank you. Jaiden?
Yeah, so COVID has impacted DeMolay a lot, kind of the same as what, Madison said, like having things virtually. And so the main thing that changed is like not being able to meet. And the biggest problem with that is like, having a group that's social, without being socially distant. But what we did to cope with the fact that we can't meet in person is that we made a statewide Discord server where brothers from across the state can like text each other whenever they want, or just like send funny pictures, just share how their day is going, anything like that. And, we coped otherwise doing like online meetings. We tried like make it interesting and fun while like playing Kahoot, trivia games, watching a movie, and what we're trying to do now coming back from COVID is, since everyone's getting fully vaccinated and we're able to meet in person again, is we're trying to come back like really, really strong to like let those like members during COVID that became inactive because, there wasn't regular meetings. We want to remind them, hey, DeMolay still exists. We're still meeting and we would like you to come back because we're going back in person and to have more fun. And that's my answer.
Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in on that question? We got anybody else got a question from the audience here? If not, I'll continue asking questions. So what makes the DeMolay and Job's Daughters different than the other youth organizations that you see out there? So what's the difference?
I think that's a really good question because there are a ton of youth organizations out there like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and 4-H. And I think one thing that differentiates us a lot is having the position of Master Counselor and Honored Queen that is directly putting the member into a leadership role, having them plan and organize a bunch of different events and themes and whatever else we do. And it's just directly putting them into that position. Personally, I was in Girl Scouts, and with my experience through that, the troop leader was, an adult, and she pretty much had all of the responsibilities of planning everything. So going from that to Job's, it's just so much more helping the daughter learn how to kind of do that stuff by herself and have that opportunity to lead by herself.
Thank you.
I think that DeMolay is different from other groups, like differentiates from like groups like Boy Scouts or anything like that, is because when you first become a DeMolay, it's for life. even when you age out and turn 21, you're not an active DeMolay, but you are a senior DeMolay. You're still a DeMolay, but just not active. And I just feel like that's like a really special thing, because you can like kind of keep those bonds you made with your DeMolay brothers as you're in your during your time as an active DeMolay. And I just think that it's also different because what DeMolay teaches is different, because we try to target on public speaking, life skills, applying for a job, getting ready for an interview, just becoming a leader, because that's what DeMolay is all about. We teach leadership skills. And I just think that's the main thing that's different from all the organization, is that when you're a DeMolay, you become one for life, and then leadership with all the leadership positions, and also being a youth-led event. Often if you're in Boy Scouts, it's often all like the advisors just planning everything, but you in DeMolay have the opportunity to plan your own events. And I just think that's something like a really important skill to have in life, is to be able to plan out things, think outside of the box, what could happen.
Thank you. So how, as a member of the fraternity myself, and Masonry in general, how can the fraternity help the youth organizations?
So being part of the Masonic family and just the whole like meaning of that is being able to interact within the other organizations that are in the Masonic family, and specifically the Masons. I mean, it's called a Masonic family. So they're like probably the biggest group, I would assume. And it, especially when you guys get to come and like visit our Bethels, even if it's like an installation, a meeting, or like a fun event, it's just really cool for the daughters to see that they have support from the other organizations and they can go to them for help. And also in meetings, something that I've noticed, if there's any member from any other organization, the daughters will be super motivated by that and will try to do their best so that they can impress you, so that you guys can come back. That is something that is super important to them, just seeing the support and getting the motivation and seeing you guys there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but was the question, how can the Freemasons help out the youth organizations?
Yes. So what is it? Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So what I think that the biggest thing that can help DeMolay right now is just like involvement. And when I say that, like, I mean, like, for example, whenever I'm in public and I see like some like person with a hat with a Freemason logo, I would often like to go up to them and say, "Hey, I like your hat. What lodge are you from?" And they say what lodge you're from, and we kind of like talk about that. And then they tend to ask, how do you know about this? Like, how do you know what this logo looks like and everything? And I tell them, well, I'm a DeMolay. And they always reply to that as in like, DeMolay, what's that? So I think it's just really important for like any Freemason to know what DeMolay and Job's Daughters is, just because it's like, you guys sponsor us. You guys are the reason why we meet in the lodges. So I think that involvement, and you guys are already doing a great job with this, like such as like different branches getting involved, like Bones Brothers. They're always there to cater for us in any event whenever we need them, But the main thing is just coming to meetings and, even becoming advisors. We can always use more advisors and adults to, adults are what makes the chapter function,
So the next question I would have is, what is and this is going to sound strange, but what is the benefit to the lodge in interacting with your guys' youth organization, right? So, it's mutual, but what's the benefit?
Absolutely. So, I mean, that makes total sense. You want to know what you can do for us, but also what we can do for you. A big part of what a lot of the Bethels do is helping the Masons like preparing dinner for them and then like serving it for them. That's kind of one of the more common ones, but something that comes to mind whenever I'm asked that question or think about that is that we are the younger members of the Masonic family. We will grow up to be into the Masons. I mean, personally, Job's daughters can't be Masons, but we can go into like Eastern Star and Nile. And personally, I know a lot of people that have gone to Job's from that. And without Job's, we probably wouldn't have known about those other organizations. And I'm sure, especially in the DeMolay, a lot of them will grow up to be Masons. So it's kind of cool just having the youth organization to learn more about the other organizations that we can become a part of once we age out.
Thank you.
I think that the organization of DeMolay can help the lodge because kind of like what Madison said is that, you know, a lot of DeMolays, when they realize what being a Mason is, you know, it's kind of like a lot of similarities to DeMolay. You know, if you enjoy the brotherhood you had in DeMolay, then you'll most likely enjoy being a Freemason. So I think like a lot of potential members to the lodge can definitely be a factor, but I think that we can also help you guys by, doing dinners for you guys, like catering, coming to like important events like Grand Lodge and giving remarks and speeches and all that, and just generally showing that, you know, that Freemasonry is really like a family thing. You know, the Freemasons, the DeMolays, the Job's daughters, you know, it's kind of like a big family thing. And I just think that's important because more people will realize that, you know, not just any person can, or that anyone can be involved with Freemasonry.
So I want to jump in on this one a little bit too. This question, I'll be honest, used to irritate the heck out of me, because it was always one of those is like, we shouldn't be doing, as Masons, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be sponsoring these organizations to get something out of them, right? Like the tracking of, well, how many members have joined. It isn't about that, in my opinion. We do it because we're trying to build a better world, right? As Masons, that's the kind of the core idea, is that we're building a better world. And why not start as early as we can? Why not build a better world with our Job's daughters and our DeMolays and start early, right? That should be enough, in my opinion. So that question used to get under my skin. It doesn't so much anymore, because now I have a little bit of a different take. There is a tangible thing. It's not always just about the, you know, who's going to join the lodge, and that's a great benefit, and I appreciate it. But it's also spreading Masonry out more. For example, Jaiden, he doesn't come from a Masonic family, and here he sits, right? State Master Counselor of DeMolay, doesn't have a Masonic background. That to me is impressive, and a reason why the Masonic fraternity needs to consider DeMolay and Job's daughters, because it spreadens our reach. Spreadens, that's not a word. Broadens our reach, spreads our reach out, and takes the teachings and the precepts and just the general belief and concepts of Masonry, and makes the world a better place because of it. So that to me is what Masonry gets out of supporting our youth organizations.
Thank you.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, you know, you've got both sides of it. You know, we do have a lot of support for each other in the sense of building each other's organizations up. You know, Masons have kids, they have nieces, they have nephews. When they see the benefits, they can help our organization grow, and we can help them grow too. But I think the biggest benefit is our beliefs and our culture to help make the world better together. We all are building upon each other. And kind of just off of the last question, even before that, with the Masons helping, what can they do for us as an organization? One of the huge benefits with that is we do have a lot of memberships that are single family You know, a lot of girls join that don't have fathers, that don't have male figures in their family. The Masons that have been involved with those daughters' lives have become that male role model that teaches them, and they're coming with that Masonic background that has that strong, good belief system and that right heart to teach them something good when they haven't had that in their life. Teach them that they're worthy of being a leader. They're worthy of things in this world. And a lot of our girls have gotten a lot out of that Masonic relationship just from the mentorship that Masons non-related within the organization have provided them.
Thank you, Lisa. That does bring me to another question for Jaiden and Madison. What have you personally got out of your time through both Job's Daughters and DeMolay?
That's a great question, because where would we be without like all the things that we teach, especially through Job's Daughters? So when I joined, I've been in this organization for a little over 8 years now. So I was always the little kid that asked my mom to order for me off the menu because I didn't want to talk to the waitress there, or just I was always uncomfortable talking to other people, even if it is one-on-one. And with all of the like public speaking that Jobs does, even though you start kind of like in a small room with like all the friends that you get to know, but now I mean, I'm a state leader now, and I'm talking to rooms full of people. Like this past grand session, there were, I don't even know how many people there were in there, but there was this huge room in a hotel, and I was able to stand up and speak in front of them, and I had no problem. So I think that's the big thing that I got out of it, is public speaking, kind of being more confident in myself.
Thank you.
So I can say that I got many things out of DeMolay, you know, such as confidence, character development, memories, you know, fun memories, traveling and all that. But the main thing that I want to say that I've gotten out of DeMolay is just having a sense of family, you know, just someone to look up to, you know, like as a dad or a mom. And, you know, that's kind of the whole point of the organization, really, because, you know, when Frank S. Land started the organization, it was after World War I, when many young men lost their fathers to the war. And, you know, the reason, you know, if for those who don't know, we call our advisors dad or mom, then their last name, for example, like Dad Brendel or Mom Glass. And I just think that's a really powerful thing for me, or especially because I just think that it's really powerful to be called mom or be called dad, and to like look up to someone when you don't have that kind of thing at home, you know.
Thank you. Does anybody else got a question that they would like to ask? I had something floating in the back of my head and now I've lost it. So,
If not a question, I have
please go ahead.
one kind of related. It's not necessarily what I got out of it, but I want to tell a story of a young man who joined DeMolay. His dad was a Mason, came to me and he said, my son's getting in fights in school. They're probably going to kick him out. He needs something. I'm hoping DeMolay is it. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh, great, I'm going to get the kid who's getting into fights. And, you know, I was like, oh boy. But he came into DeMolay and took to the fraternity aspect, the brotherhood aspect, like no one I've ever seen before. I mean, it was incredible. Stopped getting in fights, started caring about school, became a leader, master counselor of his chapter, a go-to kid, and has turned into the most generous person I've ever met. he's the sort of guy who would, like, literally, in fact, I watched him do this one time, take off his shirt and give it to somebody who needed it. Right. I mean, and if you asked him, you know, how did that happen? He's the first one to tell you happened because of DeMolay. So I've watched, you know, kids who maybe don't have that troubled background, that, you know, don't have any of that going on, and they come in and they still grow leaps and bounds as well. Right. But then I watch the ones who do have a background and desperately need something like that. Like Jaiden said, you know, kids, when DeMolay was founded, didn't have fathers. It's really not that much different today. You know, the divorce rate in this country is over 50%. I read a statistic that said, gosh, I think it was like 60% of kids grow up in a single family household. I mean, that need is still there today. Just like Jaiden said, you know, it was there when it started, it's there today. And we have so much to offer that's incredible.
Thank you. Anybody else got any from the brethren? I have one more question that I want to ask. So what would you say to somebody if, you know, it's the 30-second elevator speech on why the young person should join your organization? So what's that speech?
That's a good question. That makes me think of like kind of stuff that I've said in the past. So I think I would go something like this. I would introduce myself. I'd be, hi, my name is Madison Crooks. I'm the Grand Masonic Queen. And so the Job's Daughters is a youth Masonic organization that teaches leadership and responsibility and planning, but they also know how to have fun while doing it. That is something that, like, the end part is something that will be appealing to the girls, and then all of the other like leadership and planning stuff will appeal to the adults. So that's something that I always kind of talk about. And then if they know what Masons is, then sometimes it's a little bit easier, but a lot of people still don't really know what Masons are, especially they don't know what Job's Daughters are. So I'll normally go through history, but it's kind of hard to fit it in a 30-second speech.
Doesn't have to be 3 seconds. I just made up a number.
Yeah. But yeah, I would want to kind of encourage them and tell them our website. And for those of you here, our website is mnjobsdaughters.org. You can find all of our events on there. There's a calendar on there. You can also find mine and Lisa's email. And if you want any more contact information, you can message me on the Zoom, and I'd love to talk to you about Jobs and get you the information that you need.
Thank you. Jaiden?
So it kind of depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to the child, the parent, or a Freemason, you know. For example, if I was talking to a child, they would more likely be interested in the fun aspects of DeMolay, like the fun events that we do, like knocker ball, laser tag, you know, sports, stuff like that, you know, something that would interest a 12-year-old. Now, if I was talking to a parent, I would always usually go to the mom, because in every household family, it's usually the mom that calls all the shots, whether something can happen. Brendel knows.
Wow.
Anyway, I would just explain to them, I would talk to them like, hi, my name's Jaiden. So basically, DeMolay is a youth organization that is dedicated to the teachings of leadership to young men, such as things like getting ready for a job interview, filling out a resume, public speaking, and, you know, always mention scholarships, because parents love scholarship opportunities for their child. And if I was talking to a Freemason, I would just say that DeMolay is a Masonic youth organization, and kind of explain the same deal, but I would explain that a lot of lodges like sponsor DeMolay, so they would like get very familiar with it, have a more like Masonic aspect to them, like kind of, it just depends on who you're trying to relate to, you know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody got a question? All right, Madison, Jaiden, any closing thoughts for us before we wrap this up? Or anybody else got a closing thought?
Sure, I can say something. I think something like kind of I said before is having you guys come to more meetings, that kind of stuff. With COVID kind of, I mean, not really coming to an end, but more vaccinations are being done. Even though it's during the summer, we still have, I mean, we'll sometimes still have some fun events, but especially starting in September, we will have meetings again. So if you go onto that calendar on the website, they'll let you know when all of our meetings are. So I'd love to see more of the Masons at the meetings. And like I said, you can always contact me. I have Grand Balthonian Queen Facebook and then email. If you need that, you can go on to the website or message me on this Zoom. But I'd love to hear from all of you guys and see you guys there and kind of see the more support, and just let us know if you guys ever need anything, because we would love to help you guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, thank all of you guys for having given me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I really enjoyed talking about like why I love DeMolay, why I have a passion for it. The one thing that I have to say about the closing remarks is that, again, like if you ever want to feel like if you ever want to help out like a youth organization, like DeMolay or Job's Daughters, regardless, become an advisor. It's so powerful to be a role model, especially to a youth, and just try to be more involved as you can with youth organizations, because you are the people that sponsor us. You guys are the reasons why we can meet in your lodges, why we can have these meetings and be sponsored by you guys. And if you ever need to contact me, you can always contact me from my Facebook, our new Instagram page for state officers on Instagram at mn.demolay.officers. If you ever just need me, reach out, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Aaron or Lisa, you guys got any closing remarks that you would like to give us?
I just would like to thank you for all the continued support that there always has been, and reiterate, we are here. We are a part of your family, and we love to be invited. We love to attend things. Our girls love to show off and be able to perform the cross or do whatever they can to help you in any way. So reach out in any time, and we'd love to see you. We're here to help.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Aaron, you get the last word, man.
I would echo the same thing all three of them said, right? And from a personal standpoint, I get asked somewhat frequently, actually. It's like, man, you work with Job's Daughters and DeMolay, how do you find the time to do that? Why do you do that? And I do it because someone did it for me. So that's it.
Yep. I get that. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for the discussion. And as I said in the beginning, we will be taking a little bit of a break here and spinning up again in the fall. And with that, I am going to call it an evening.